Hello, Pisces. Thank you so much, as always, you guys, for being here, and a very safe and happy holidays to all of you. All right, Pisces, so looking at your third week of December, woo, we got a lot to talk about. So chaos and conflict, dissipating and release. Chaos and conflict. This is talking about you dealing with a difficult situation, but the protection message is saying that now is the perfect time for there to be a reordering of the chaos that you may have been experiencing. Dissipating, though, this is like talking about your greatness, but not actually ever living it. It's like witnessing somebody who has let their life pass them by, and all they can do is talk about how great things could have been, or the great things that they could have accomplished. And this is really a warning not to let your dreams fade away. But the reason why that may be happening is because of the chaos and conflict that you've experienced. Release is saying now is the time to get rid of any negative energy that's affecting you. It says when you are surrounded by negativity, it's important to find ways of releasing it. You may not comprehend the huge effect that this energy has on how you are feeling. So, for some of you, there may be this feeling of my life is passing me by, and all I see or experience is this chaos and conflict. But there very much is a part of you that understands the greatness that lies within you. But don't be content to just sit and talk about it. Whatever negative energy has been blocking you from experiencing that, that's where there needs to be the release. But chaos and conflict, it talks about how divine order may be coming in to completely resort all of the difficulty that you've been facing and all of the effects that it may have had on you. It says you'll discover everything you need to know about how this situation affects you long term. Be present in the eye of the chaos. This moment is valuable. Don't waste it. So it's basically saying it's time for you to jump in the mix here, because things are going to be reordered in a way where there may be an opportunity for you to realize something that you've been talking about for a while. But because of, what you've been dealing with, it's like your dreams are just kind of like floating by. It's like making excuses as to why you haven't lived the best version of yourself. But right now is the perfect time for things to kind of come back into, divine order, so to speak. But any negative energy that's been attached to you, that is affecting you emotionally, is what needs to be released. And that one talks about different ways of doing it, like taking a salt bath, basically self-care. And with dissipating, that could be finally taking the first steps towards a really big dream or a goal that you feel like, is something that you saw in your own future as being like this great accomplishment that you can achieve, but you just kind of like let it go and, made excuses as to why. And with chaos and conflict, right, it's the reason why I say excuses is because you're pointing to, your outer experience, but ultimately you're the one that chooses to allow that to affect you, right? But really the message there is that things are going to start to order out, but don't let all of, your big dreams and goals pass you by because of what you experienced. And be careful about the attachments that it's had on you emotionally. So the Knight of Swords is the overall. This is abrupt, immediate action, very harsh words, direct communication. But this isn't hesitating. It's taking information and immediately working with it. So, there may be this communication that comes in abruptly, but it's requiring you to act immediately is what I feel like. And this isn't like an Eight of Wands type of thing where all of a sudden energy just starts to pick up. No, this very specifically is coming from information or communication. It's like now is the time for you to work with that and, get moving, right? So in the past, the Page of Pentacles, something may have been offered to you. And you may be looking at it now going, how do I do this now? Like, I want to make something out of this. This is taking advantage of something, that has been handed to you, an opportunity coming through, right? And again, communication seems to be key here. In the present, there's you with the moon. So we're looking at an opportunity from the past that's still very much present. And there may be a need for you to learn something different or gain some kind of different information. But right now you're looking at, this confusion. Things may not seem very clear. Some of you may feel like, this opportunity it's like it's just an illusion. But there may be something going on around you that is causing confusion as to why, you may not have fully realized an opportunity. Oh boy. So, in future conditions, the Queen of Swords, if you are dealing with a person or a situation that has been intentionally causing you confusion, I think that that's where you're kind of moving into this place where you're cutting that off. It's almost like I can't deal with that kind of nonsense. It's feeling like you need to turn a cold shoulder. And I'm interested to see what's happening here because we're talking about, this information, this communication, you acting abruptly or acting immediately. But it's coming from a place of, having had enough of emotional confusion. This is very much a shutting off of how emotions are affecting you. And you may be setting some really huge boundaries, though, too. And that would make sense with chaos and conflict. But, there's still that reminder of how negative energy has affected you. And if we're talking about how it's affected you emotionally, it may have turned you off from, like, taking advantage of an opportunity. The thing, though, is that it's still coming through. But I feel very, unhappy about this kind of confusion and, disillusionment that's happening with the moon. And for me, when I look at the moon and I look at it attached to Pisces, we're talking about the 12th house. This is where there's the confinement, restriction, the self-undoing, all the things that lurk in the shadow. But I feel like your response to this, though, is really tough, really harsh. And I'm not looking at it as is this necessary? I feel like it was necessary, if that makes sense. Your best path to follow the sun, new energy, new life, being rejuvenated, being in a place of joy and happiness, getting clarity on how things have affected you emotionally. But this, to me, especially with your overall, feels like, make sure that the action that you're taking is directly related to renewing any energy that may have been drained from you, especially emotionally. But this is like looking forward to a new life, new experience. and something that's, happy and joyous, right? Okay. In your environment, the Page of Wands, and again, you've got this communication coming all the way through. This is like exciting news that's coming through, but I almost feel like, this is somebody who doesn't have the ability to follow through. It's almost like, I'm confused at what you're telling me. You say one thing, but you do another. That's kind of what I feel like with the moon, and then leading into the Queen of Swords. Like, you're done dealing with the immaturity of somebody that, is constantly, hey, Pisces, let's do this, let's do that, you should do this, right? I know a really good way of taking advantage of an opportunity or something like that. But for you, with the moon being there, it's like there's this confusion. I thought that this was what you wanted me to do, or where you wanted me to go. But I feel like there's this immature energy that just kind of like backs out on you. And, for some of you, you may not understand why you allowed yourself to get involved with it, if that makes sense. Because again, you're moving into this place where you're cutting it off. We're not playing those types of games anymore. And you are pushed to a place where, you're let me just tell you like it is, so that I can move the hell on from this. Because it's all about a different experience rather than, dealing with that kind of conflict, right? Where somebody may be saying something but doing completely something different. Your hopes and your fears, the King of Wands. So, because we're looking at pages and we're looking at an opportunity being presented to you, right? The opportunity that you want to be taking advantage of is a new life experience for you, not, what somebody else is wanting to like try to get you to do, if that makes sense. And this is like hoping that you're dealing with, somebody that is mature, but the fear there is that you're dealing with somebody who's being egotistical. Now, the other thing though here too is, if we're talking about you as the King of Wands being projected outward as far as hopes and fears, this is hoping that the wisdom that you have gained through this experience is going to help you be able to follow a path from a place of wisdom, right? Like following a path in a way where, you're not left with this kind of confusion as to, why things aren't working out. But I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at, you moving into a place where you're just kind of like cold and shut off now. And you may be tired of dealing with, somebody who is more focused on themselves, if that makes sense. Whoever this person is, for those of you who are dealing with another person that's creating confusion, right? Like, I'm seeing them as somebody who really is not showing a whole lot of interest in how they affect you emotionally. Like, I can't help but look at that King of Wands going, I'm fearing how being involved with this person is going to affect me. That's the best way to put it. But if you're focusing on clarity and bringing different type of energy into your life, right, then there is the ability for you to take immediate action on that and kind of cut this situation out or this person out. But, it's like, I feel like I was hoping that I was dealing with somebody that is acting a little bit more maturely. But because we're looking at the wands here, we're talking about, you know, the attraction that kind of comes along with that, and that, you know, ability for somebody to start igniting passion within you. But with confusion, it's like you say this, but what do you really want? I almost feel like some of you may have been dealing with somebody that has been not so much intentionally manipulating your emotions, but it's almost like they're doing it for an ego fix, if that makes sense. You know, and again, I say this because of the way that you're coming out on this. And this may be the negative energy that, you know, you need to let go of. If somebody is playing with you emotionally, right, it would make sense that it's time now. It's time to immediately take action to cut that out of your life and make the choice to no longer be a part of that, or to play that game, or to allow it to affect you emotionally. Right now, obviously, that's not going to be for all of you. But, you know, regardless, here we're talking about a new experience, a new life, and you hoping that, you know, outwardly, if we're talking about you as the King of Wands, that your wisdom is moving you in the right direction. You know, being a little bit more cautious, I feel like, as far as like the paths you choose to follow. Are you following what somebody else wants? And is it truly what you want? Yeah. And then coming out the Two of Swords, right? Like needing to make the difficult decision here and needing to open your eyes to how your emotions may be being manipulated. You know, and again, there's that feeling of, you know, not wanting to make that choice, but understanding that a difficult choice may need to be made right now. And you might finally get to that point once you release any kind of like negative emotional attachment that's been placed onto you because of this kind of like, you know, saying one thing but doing something completely different. Because you're dealing with somebody, you know, who is immature, right? And for others of you, it's really just a, do I really want this? You know, it sounds exciting, it sounds good, and it sounds like it's a new path, but if I'm not seeing clarity with this, is it really what I'm feeling? But something has affected you, you know, that changed, you know, the way that you're allowing things to come into your awareness. Because we're talking about receptive energy here. So the Fool. Death. And then Strength. So you have you, Scorpio, and Leo showing up here. So this is finally needing to open your eyes and how you may have been taking too many risks with situations that, you know, on the surface appear to be like a really good opportunity or something that's secure. But the opportunity you want to take advantage of is what you are feeling, right? Like if you're coming from a place of confusion, it's like, I had faith in this and I don't understand. You know, why is this not going in the direction that I thought you said it would, is what I'm feeling like here. But this is clearly you jumping into something and willing to like take that risk here, but with death, right? Like this is a situation that is over with in such a way that it has changed you, right? There's the transformation that takes place there. But it's also about you needing to realize that the only way that this is going to leave your life is if you let it go. And then, you know, you're finding inner strength here. Inner strength to make the difficult choice to finally cut out a situation that is just leaving you in a place of confusion. And you may do so abruptly with that Knight of Swords. And you've got something to say. You definitely have something to say. But I do feel like, you know, this is going to be for those of you who feel like you have been misled. But that may be because, you know, there's that kind of like passion for it or for them, right? There's the attraction that's happening there for this path, this experience. But things are not what they appear to be. Patience, integration, and then risk. Okay. So finding patience while you are going through the integration process. This is about integrating the experience that you've had in such a way where it benefits you, it doesn't block you, or, you know, continue to leave you in a place where you're attaching to negative things. So be patient with the integration of the experience you have had, and be aware of the risks that you are taking. You know, something may be presented to you that looks really good, but, you know, are you feeling it, right? Or are your emotions being manipulated? Because if you've taken that risk before and it led to death, right? Like, it would make sense that there's a need to, you know, find the strength to do what's necessary and make a difficult choice, right? So fogged in with the moon, yeah. Go slow, take time, patience. And crossing bridges, it's time for healing, connecting, mending, and releasing. There you go. But just because a situation may not be working out right now, it doesn't mean that, you know, you should talk about how great things could have been. You know, really take a minute here to focus on your greatness, the things that you can still accomplish, right? Life isn't over here. But the chaos and the conflict of this situation is going to clear up. It will, right? Absolutely it will. But make sure that you're paying attention to how it's affecting you, and, you know, make sure that the way that you respond to this is coming from a place of integrity. But when it comes to making a difficult choice, there is no point in hesitating anymore, right? That's what I feel like with that Knight of Swords being the overall. So things may seem really foggy at the moment here, but the healing is coming in of this situation. You know, and it's unfortunate. I feel like it's one of those things where your good nature and your emotional openness may have been taken advantage of. And again, that's only going to be for some of you. But just take your time with this situation as far as like integrating the experience. Don't immediately attach any meaning, especially if it's going to block you from releasing any kind of negative energy that has affected you because of this.